people seeing black shadows, and they think that they feel spirits out here. It gets really bad here fast.
Bizarre creatures like chupacabras, hellhounds, people disappearing, losing time.
My primal brain is saying, "Run, you fool." I was scared to death.
The Badlands. Nature's version of doomsday. Often mistaken for desert, but in the Badlands, there's next to no nutrients, no soil, nothing grows. It's all cracking, eroding rock. The best-known formations are found in South Dakota, but they exist throughout America's Middle West. Desolate, outlying tracts of emptiness, without a living soul for miles.
This weird, otherworldly terrain here that's actually more reminiscent of Mars than anywhere else is very, very ancient and lends itself to fantastic stories and fantastic events.
The Badlands does seem to be a hotspot for UFOs, strange lights, and just odd phenomena.
In the Badlands, anything does sort of seem possible. Great looming shadows and anything can kind of jump out at you. There's always the possibility somewhere at the back of your mind that something could be lurking out there.
In a landscape so crazed, legends thrive about unwary travelers, falling victim to something monstrous and wicked. While cutting through the Badlands is always a tricky proposition, one route is considered worse than all the rest. Some would say, godforsaken. It began innocently enough, just a numerical change along Route 66 on the highway maps. Now, the north-south branch from Colorado to New Mexico would read 666. Just one more 6. But now this isolated stretch of asphalt was marked, destined for the full wrath of God.
666 is the mark of the beast in the New Testament. And that's what scared people off or created a bad connotation about the name.
There's many people who feel simply because of the number 666, highways haunted or evil, even possessed.
I think being called the Devil's Highway is probably more because of the incidents that have happened on that highway, the amount of truck crashes and car crashes that have happened on that highway.
Despite its reputation, some folks must travel this road. Truckers like Carl Smith.
I didn't really believe in the afterlife or spiritual stuff. I wasn't into all those type of things.
Carl's skepticism would be tested one July night in 2002. He was headed out of Colorado and thought he'd save time by taking Highway 666.
It was a nice summer's evening, so I didn't really have the air on or anything. I think I just had the fan on in the truck.
In the Badlands, the highway abruptly changed to steep curves and switchbacks.
As you turn the truck, you can see the tail of the trailer. If you cut it too short, you're gonna go down off the side of the road. If you make a mistake, it's gonna probably be your last one.
Then, trouble began inside Carl's truck.
My truck just got like cold. Like somebody just turned an industrial AC on, almost like I drove into a freezer box. And then I got the strangest feeling that, there's something here with me. Something or someone's here in my truck.
Carl was now at the mercy of forces he couldn't explain, and in danger of running off the road, or worse. It's pitch black outside, no help for miles. And as we'll see, his run on the Devil's Highway had only just begun.
Well, the things that I've heard of on the Devil's Highway are bizarre creatures like chupacabras, hellhounds, people disappearing or losing time. Just very strange experiences that regular, ordinary people are having when they're out traveling on the road.
There is something about this place geographically that has caused a strange energy anomaly that draws the strange and the mystical and the supernatural. It's all about energy. And if you have oddities and energy, you may have oddities in reality.
While Carl Smith was battling the Devil's Highway in Colorado, another trucker, Terry Eldershoff, was trying to recover from his drive on the Devil's Highway.
Truck drivers never talk about bad things. They've got this macho image that they've got to uphold. And 40 years, I've never told this story to anybody. How do you explain this to somebody? They're gonna think you're nuts.
In 1973, Terry Eldershoff was just back from 2 tours in Vietnam. Trying to escape the horrors of war, he bought a truck and hit the open road.
Driving through the Badlands was very peaceful. It was quiet. It was therapeutic to me.
Escape was what he needed. But one fall day, Terry caught a load out of Safford, Arizona, headed to Denver. That put him en route down Highway 666.
When I pulled out, the sun was just set behind the mountains on the west. And all of a sudden, there was like a cloud mass hanging up over the top of the mountains on the eastern side. Instead of hanging there like a normal cloud bank would, it's coming down the side of the mountain. So now something's not right, and I know it. I can feel it down deep inside of me. There's something wrong. 2 things run through my mind. Can I outrun it, or should I stop? And I thought, I can outrun it. I can outrun anything.
Terry puts pedal to the metal.
The faster I went, it stayed right on top of me. Then all of a sudden, it got oppressively close. It was like right down on top of the truck. And it started having these green electrostatic flashes, almost like green lightning. And it was right over the top of me. So I'm trying to see the road, and these green flashes are blinding. I think, I can get out of this. I can get out of this. And I kept speeding up and speeding up and speeding up. And pretty soon I was doing everything the truck could do, and it still was on top of me.
80,000 pounds of motoring metal flying down asphalt at top speed. Terry Eldershoff's best efforts to break free are going nowhere.
I was scared. Now all of a sudden, the Devil's Highway had, it had a meaning.
One day in 1973, truck driver Terry Eldershoff was driving through the Badlands on notorious Route 666. Suddenly, a mysterious cloud started chasing him down.
It wasn't going across and moving across the valley. It stopped and came towards me. So there was something in this that was completely aware of what it was doing. But this was getting lower and lower and it settled down right over the top of my truck. The dash lights were the first thing to go out. Then the headlights. Then the speedometer dropped down to 0. This green electrostatic lightning is running across the bottom of this cloud, lighting up the road in front of me. And I kept driving faster and faster. And you have no idea how fast you're going. You've got no speedometer, but when the engine starts to float, you're going as fast as you can. And it was floating. And this thing was still over the top of me. I have never been so scared in my whole life. I had no idea what it was going to do.
Eventually, Terry has no choice. He brings the big rig to a grinding stop. But that just makes things go from bad to worse.
I'm watching this cloud, nothing but this green lightning. And the wind kept picking up. The truck would rock, it'd buffet. Then the next thing I know, I could feel the whole truck leaning. And then it'd drop. And it felt like it was actually coming off the ground. An 80,000-pound truck does not come off the ground easily. And dry, so dry. I could barely swallow. My tongue kept sticking to the roof of my mouth. And I can feel this electrostatic lightning or whatever it is. It's reverberating in my jaw. And it kept getting louder and louder and louder. And finally I thought, I gotta get out of here.
It was as if this cloud was a hunter, and Terry, the hunted.
The only thing I could think of was to get out of its line of sight. So I jumped back in the back. The vibration in my head, it made it feel like it was going to explode. I was going out of my mind with the noise. I woke up looking out the windshield, sitting in the driver's seat exactly as I am right now. And I don't remember getting in the driver's seat. Everything's working. All the lights are back on. And I look down at my watch, and 4 hours went by. And I ended up driving over 100 miles and do not remember doing it.
When a cloud doesn't behave like a cloud, and it doesn't behave like a lightning storm, and it behaves like a predator, something's going on. There have been a lot of stories of this strange electric fog phenomenon, or of a UFO coming out of a cloud. So that wasn't the first story of something hidden in a cloud that was strange. It was like using a cloud as cover.
There's something not right with that road. You know, when they call it the Devil's Highway, they weren't lying.
Terry doesn't know how he survived his run on Highway 666. When trucker Carl Smith was up against this road, he didn't think he'd ever see daylight.
I had to keep complete control of this truck, or it's gonna be me down in that ditch. And then I got the strangest feeling, like somebody trying to get my attention, but it was an eerie type of feeling. Then I looked and I seen this figure next to me in the passenger seat. It was like a misty fog of this silhouette of a person actually sitting there. I was afraid to stare it down. Kind of like staring down a wild dog, you know, you stare at it and it jumps at you.
In the midst of a white-knuckle drive on Highway 666, trucker Carl Smith suddenly noticed he's not alone.
I'm trying not to stare at this thing next to me and keep on the road straight going ahead. This person or entity, whichever anybody wants to call it, now it's a complete distraction. And now I'm looking at, well, okay, I could turn too far. I'll end up off into this canyon somewhere. It becomes very nerve-wracking. Every muscle in your body is like tense at that moment. You're just like, well, this can be it. When I finally built up some more nerve there, I glanced back over again. Then it was just faded away. And it was just gone and everything was just like nothing happened except for my nerves were still all on end.
Carl turned the last corner. The road ahead was straight and flat.
It just all hit me like a big shock, like, you know, what the hell did I just go through? You know, what's going on here?
As soon as he could, Carl parked at a local truck stop.
I started talking to other truck drivers, and a couple of them said, well, yeah, that's happened a few times to other people that come over that way. A lot of the drivers and the people that live in the area believe that that trucker who gets in your truck with you tries to guide you through that section of road where it caused him his demise.
One possibility that occurs to me is that there are some kinds of guardians that look out for travelers.
I have friends that think that it's evil just because of the 666, with that being the devil's number, but I feel there's also good spirits that could be warning you.
I really don't know what it was next to me. It could have been a guardian. I could believe that the person that was in my truck or the spirit that was in my truck was that trucker that never made it through the turns and didn't make it to the bottom of the Devil's Highway.
Route 666 sparked so many rumors that in 2003, the federal government renumbered the route to 191.
Most people know that it was Route 666. You can change the name and change the energy of a place, but there's still that undercurrent.
My night on the Devil's Highway was one of the scariest nights of my life.
"500 miles east of old Route 666, the West Texas Badlands meet the vast, empty plains. Over millions of years, wind and rain carved this region in spectacular ways. A beautiful, yet desolate place.
You don't have to get very far outside of town to feel very isolated with the curves and the twists and the terrain, the rocks and things. There's just always a sense that there's something hidden, something watching you.
There are a lot of legends and mysteries about this place, and yet I don't think anyone ever saw anything like I did.
Brian Bethel is a journalist in Abilene, Texas. For nearly 20 years, he's covered city politics, community issues, and major events. Brian is trained to follow the facts and get to the truth of the story.
Brian is a reporter in that old school style. Brian's not going to be the first guy to go. Somebody says that they've seen something weird, obviously it must be true. He has about the right dose of objectivity.
I have no good explanation for what happened to me at all. And it's one of the most frightening things that ever happened in my life.
In the spring of 1996, Brian was busy covering city council meetings and rushing to file his stories by deadline. Then one evening, he remembered an unpaid bill, one he had to take care of across town that very day.
The parking lot seemed very isolated. There was an eerie sense about it, but it was odd that there was no other movement, no other people. Couldn't see anyone in the movie theater. I did feel kind of a sense of being alone there. I felt a little bit of safety because I was in the light of the marquee. But there was sort of a little strange feeling about the atmosphere. Nothing that you could put your finger on. I just want to get this errand done and go home. I don't really want to be here.
Brian had his head down, writing out a check.
There's this very sharp rap at the door, and it startled me. I look over, and there's two young men standing outside. They might be somewhere between 9 to 14, both of them wearing pullover hoodies. I rolled down the window very slightly and said, "Can I help you?" That's when things began to get just really weird.
Hey, mister.
The older of the pair did all the talking. He says, "Hey, mister, we left our money at home, and we want to see the movie. Can you drive us to our mother's house?" He had this very smooth aura about him, almost a too smooth diction.
Come on, it won't take long.
That you would not expect from a child. Almost immediately, there was this primal, terrible fear that began to grip me. There's something wrong about them. And it's not just the smoothness of the spokesman. Some part of my primal brain is saying, "Run, you fool."
In the spring of 1996, in a deserted parking lot on the outskirts of the Badlands, newspaper reporter Brian Bethel was writing a check. Out of nowhere, two children approached, asking him for a ride. For Brian, the decision would turn into a matter of life or death.
I wanted away from them. I was scared to death. I was almost literally trembling, trying to keep myself together in the face of just a couple of little kids. I think he began to understand that I was afraid of them at some level because he started to be reassuring.
Come on, mister. We don't have a gun.
That unnerved me. There was this subtle note there that said that we don't need a gun, mister. All this time, this mounting sense of danger that I am about to die.
Brian suddenly notices his hand is reaching towards the handle to unlock the door.
My hand had sort of strayed toward the car door on its own, a little too close to the latch. I'm like, I don't remember doing that. You're not letting them in. Move your hand away. Was it mesmerism or some sort of hypnotism? I can't objectively say that. And then the spokesman started to get angry.
Mister, we need in your car.
He said, "We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay."
Tell us it's okay.
I look over at them. It hits. I see their eyes, and they are cold black, soulless orbs. No iris, no sclera, just one black void. They were like shards of night, and I am more frightened than I have ever been in my entire life. And at that point, every single thing in me says, get the hell away now.
Breaking from his trance, Brian took off.
I ripped out of the parking lot as quickly as I possibly could, only taking a moment to look in my rearview mirror and see that there was no one standing where the children were. They were gone. It was like that they almost just vanished. I don't even remember the drive home. All I know is that I got there absolutely terrified. I was chilled to the soul.
Still shaken by the encounter, Brian calls his best friend Chad Beavers, a psychologist in nearby Amarillo.
I have never heard Brian be scared at all, ever. Certainly not like this. It freaked me out almost as much as I think he was freaked out.
Brian still has no idea what it was that he encountered.
People have various theories, everything from vampires to ghosts to aliens.
I think black-eyed kids are terrifying because they're extremely predatory and they are sort of relentless. And this is the other part that's scary. You have to know that you can't let them in or accept their help because that's how you've given away your power and now they have a way to access you.
I believe that I was being hunted in some manner. They use camouflage or subterfuge to draw in prey because we are hardwired to look at children and say, these are innocent creatures.
The black-eyed kids, very modern manifestation of a very ancient phenomenon of fairies and fairy abductions. What we're looking at is possibly a new twist on a very, very ancient thing that humans have been encountering for thousands of years.
Brian wrote about his experience, the first report of its kind, and as the incident spread from the Badlands, dozens of people contacted Brian about their own black-eyed kid encounters.
I'm driving home and there are two children walking up the hill. So I pull over and I say, you guys all right? Do you want me to call your mom? One of them said to me, let me in the car. I said, no, I'll call your mom. The other one said, let us in the car. I had this feeling of doom and dread. And they both looked at me and they were as pale could be with black eyes. I became very, very panicked. I started saying the St. Michael prayer. St. Michael the Archangel, your protection against the snares of the devil.
There are no confirmed cases of death at the hands of black-eyed kids. But it's the stories Brian has never heard that worry him.
I wonder about the people who just saw a couple of kids and said, sure, you can come in, I'll give you a ride. And then what happens to them?
Can I help you?
If a black-eyed kid knocks on your door, don't let him in, because it may be the last thing that you do.
Dangerous roads, iffy hitchhikers. Just a couple of ways the Badlands can lead to misery and evil. In another corner of the region, an entirely different route to misfortune. A place where ordinary people tempt fate with a legendary curse. East of Phoenix, Arizona, there's a range of mountains known as the Superstitions.
It's volcanic and has eroded down to this level, but it's very rugged terrain. It's actually federal wilderness area. So no roads, no motorized vehicles. It's just the way it was hundreds or even thousands of years ago.
The weather can change suddenly, and sometimes it's a drop in degrees of 30 to 40 degrees in a matter of minutes almost. Superstition Mountain is beautiful and kind of a little scary.
For centuries, dark rumors have swirled around these peaks.
People tell me that they come out here and that they have seen black shadows, and they think that they feel spirits out here.
Superstition Mountains to the local tribes were a sacred area, and they also believed in the evil spirits that inhabited the area, and it was bad luck to go in, and sometimes those who went in would not return.
The bad luck seems to revolve around any attempt to remove gold from the mountain fortress. A move that's believed to incite the wrath of Indian spirits.
The spirit stories are very, very strong. They don't want anybody to take anything from the mountain. Anything that's in there is sacred to them.
There have been several hundred people that have passed away here in the Superstition Mountains hunting for gold.
In the 1870s, one man, Jacob Waltz, nicknamed the Dutchman, managed to strike it rich. Somewhere within this mountain, Waltz found a gold mine, and it's lured prospectors here ever since.
Some people believe there is still a curse on Superstition Mountain and that it can be a dangerous place to go into. So it's hard to say, you know, maybe the evil spirits are still out there.
Despite the curse on any who try to claim the mountain's gold, some can't help themselves.
People can get obsessed with that place because of the gold fever, treasure. They get high off it. They see nothing but that. They dream it. They eat it.
Carol Merworth knows this tragic tale all too well. Her son Curtis had gold fever.
When Curtis was a boy, he'd always act like he was treasure hunting with his sister all the time around the house and stuff. He was always interested in it.
Years later, with a wife and family, Curtis was still captivated by the idea of finding buried treasure. It led him into a world of treasure maps and tales of the lost Dutchman's mine.
This Native American lived down that way, and Curtis made friends with him. And he said he went there all the time getting gold. And he gave Curtis an Indian map so Curtis could get some gold.
Curtis believed he finally had the break he'd been looking for, and he recruited two friends to help him find the Dutchman's gold in the Superstitions. With this Indian map in hand, any concern about the mountain's curse was left behind.
Curtis thought that it was nonsense about the curse. All he was interested in was finding the gold.
In the last few days before Curtis's expedition, his mother began having frightening premonitions.
In my vision, he kept coming to me, talking to me, and crying to help him, to get the searchers and that and the planes to find him, because he was going to die. Curtis was determined to go up there no matter what, to the Superstition Mountain, find the lost Dutchman's gold mine. I just told him it was the wrong place to go. It was a wicked mountain to me.
In the summer of 2010, Curtis Merworth and two friends hiked into the Superstition Mountains in search of the lost Dutchman's gold. Hiking these desolate badlands is difficult any time. But Curtis was taking on the Superstitions, a place darkened with a dangerous curse.
The Superstitions just have all kinds of different stories and lore about the things that have happened to people out here. And many people have even been decapitated out here while they're out here hunting for this treasure.
I told him, please don't go, we need you, I'll never see you again. And he just went on, ignored me.
Armed with a map given to them by a Native American elder, the men planned on 3 days to find the gold.
The spirits try to guide you off the trail when you're trying to find things. Confuse you. They don't want you to find their gold.
You know, you step on one rock wrong, and you can end up 100 feet down in a canyon, one step wrong and a rattlesnake that doesn't rattle. The Badlands is a good name for the Superstition Mountain area. Things can go wrong within a matter of a minute.
He's gonna go for 3 days and come back. And he didn't come back, so I knew something was the matter.
Carol's dark visions began again.
In my vision, he feels bad because he can't find his way back. I could see him, and I could see him yelling, "Help, help me." They were lost, and he was crying, begging me, "Please help me, help me," and stressing me out.
After several days, Carol notified the search and rescue team.
The searchers went out with planes, with dogs, even on horseback, and there were volunteers that went out on foot. A lot of times they had to go out at night because of the heat, but they could not find the lost hikers.
Days turned into 6 long months with no news.
I almost had a nervous breakdown, and it's hard when people go missing and you don't know what's happened to them.
In January of 2011, longtime prospector Rick Gwynn ventured into the Superstitions on his own attempt to find the Dutchman's mine.
I need to have my hip replaced, so I went out for a last hike and by myself just to enjoy the mountains. About halfway up the hill, and I figured I'm just turning around and I'm going back because my hip wouldn't allow me to go any further. And I turned to the right, and I could not believe what I saw. I mean, I was just like, whoa. There I saw the remains of a gentleman by the way he was dressed. And about 60 feet down from him was another skeletal remains.
Rick had found the bodies of the hikers that accompanied Curtis Merworth. Given the terrain and temperatures, it was no surprise they turned up dead. But the condition of the bodies raised suspicions about the mountain's evil curse.
When I got to looking around, it just didn't add up. They had their lantern on, so apparently whatever happened to them, they were there at nighttime when it happened. And the light was left on whenever they met their demise. There were 2 holes in the back of a gentleman's head, which is just not normal. Most people don't have those there. Skeletal remains of a gentleman had one of his rib bones sticking out the front of his shirt. It looked as though his ribs in the back had been blown in, actually, is what it was. I just don't feel that they passed away over natural causes. I feel as though maybe they did have some curse or something following them.
Rick was anxious to head back and alert the authorities, but that plan suddenly went awry.
It was unbelievable. It was like somebody was holding me there. The curse almost got me.
Like many treasure seekers before, Curtis Merworth and 2 friends trekked into the Superstition Mountains, lured by legends of gold. And just like dozens before, they disappeared. It might have stayed that way if not for Rick Gwynn, a prospector who managed to find the bodies. The mountain had already taken its toll on the hikers. Rick thought he might be next.
I tripped and fell down, and my doggone backpack got caught up on some of the stubs of the trees that were there. I was about to roll off of the hill. I finally was able to get out of that rascal. But I thought for a while there I was going to be right along with those gentlemen. I truly did. It was unbelievable. I was ready to get the hell out of there that morning, for sure. I don't know why I felt so bad, as bad as I did. there was something else that just made me feel really, really strange and bad out there. And I don't normally ever get that way in the mountains, you know, at all, but that place just seemed to be really eerie.
Later that day, Carol Merworth gets the news that 2 bodies had been found, but not her son Curtis.
I thought they'd be together. But when they didn't find him, then I got really upset. Because I thought, oh, where did he go?
2 weeks more, and 6 long months since Curtis left, the sad news finally arrived.
They found Curtis about a half a mile from the other bodies.
His remains were broken and scattered.
His bones, his legs, and that was scattered 3 miles away in different pieces. I feel like the spirits tore my son up, and it's also a warning to other people not to go up there to Superstition Mountain, because this is what could happen to them. I feel like the curse killed my son.
If there is a curse, it still had not yet claimed its final victim.
The Indian gentleman that gave them the map, it's kind of strange that he would die also at the very same time that these gentlemen disappeared. He supposedly fell into one of the viaducts in town and it crushed his skull. I think that it might have been connected to the curse. The reason being is I don't think he was supposed to tell anybody about where the Indians hope these treasures buried out here.
4 people died going to Superstition Mountain because it's cursed. That's why all 4 of them died, including my son.
When you're out in the Badlands, there is a strange quality to it. There's always the possibility somehow that you might encounter something strange.
There are absolutely entities out here. It's like there's something always watching you. Who they are, I really can't answer. And it gets really bad here fast.